Hello everyone, thanks for checking out this video. Welcome to my channel. My name is Chris. We talk all about koi ponds and water gardens here and everything that goes along with it. I've got well over 150 videos here at this point for you guys on all different topics. Feel free, take some time, take a look around. Use the playlists here on the channel to kind of find your way and navigate around, as I have things broken down into different categories on the playlists. And just tons of information for you that I hope can benefit you, help you out, answer some questions, and make your pond keeping experience a little bit more enjoyable. So today's topic, we are talking about that filamentous algae, that green, hairy, stringy algae that grows in our ponds. Specifically, like on the pond liner itself, it looks like a shaggy carpet, hairy mess on your liner. On your waterfalls, it kind of hangs down. River, stream beds, all this stuff off your plants, your flower pots, stuff like this. I have another video here on this channel all about controlling algae, which you may want to check out. It's a little more just general information about algae, as far as how it grows, why it grows, how to control different types, more about like green water and using UVs, as well as the hairy stringy stuff as well. But this video we're going to really dive into the filamentous hairy stringy algae and talk about ways to control it and help understand why it's there and how to prevent it. Okay, so yeah, if you're new here too, please check out my website, www.pondscapesandmore.com, where I have a ton of information for you guys, a ton of pictures from my business, from all the jobs I've done, lots of cool stuff there. Please check that out. And we're doing something new called Ponds Around the World there on my channel, on my website, where I have a heading on the top page, where I'm hoping that a lot of you will share with me a picture and just a brief description of your pond from different parts of our country, from the world, that I can post on this page and people can see. Kind of like a little pond tour, only it's not just in our town, it's going to be all around the world. Please participate, join in. I think it would be really cool for everybody to enjoy. So, all right, let's get on with the video. Okay, so this filamentous green algae is a nuisance. It's different than just having green water, okay? Your pond can be crystal clear if you have a UV light on it, but this green, hairy, stringy algae is very common, like growing on your waterfalls and stuff, around your flower pots and on the rocks, sometimes on the liner. That just is ugly, right? So we're going to talk about some different ways to eliminate this and deter it. Now, a UV light is awesome when it comes to keeping your pond water clear and not allowing it, to turn to pea soup. And that's simply because what a UV light does is it kind of burns, let's just use that term, kills the algae cells in the water that passes through it. Okay, so it's exposed to that UV radiation, that UV light. It disrupts the algae cells that pass through it, thus keeping the pond clear. However, you still get this green, hairy, stringy algae all around your pond, and that's simply because that stuff is not being exposed to the light, right? That's, in line with your pump and stuff. Okay, so a UV light will really have no effect on this hairy, stringy algae. So we need to find other ways to control it. So first off, let's try to understand what it is. All right. So algae, be it single-celled green pea soup water algae or this hairy, stringy algae, they're plants. It's a plant, okay, just like the plants out in your garden. And it's going to need three things to thrive, to grow. And that's basically water, sunlight, and nutrients. All right. So, we're in a pond, we've got water, right? If we're out in the sun, we've got ample sunlight and warmth. And the nutrients are built up in the water from fish waste, from organic plant matter decaying, and various other things. So if we have these three things here, we have the perfect cocktail for algae to grow. So somewhere along the line in helping to control algae, we need to kind of break the chain in some respects. Some ways we can kind of do it chemically, but we're going to get into all that. So one of the easier ways that I like to control this algae is with salt. All right. Now I have a whole video about salt and the different uses of salt, especially not only for killing and controlling algae, but also for killing parasites, protozoan parasites on the fish, as well as just a water conditioner, so to speak. And that's all in this video here, so you might want to check that out. But for right now, we're just going to talk about salt for the algae. There's some advantages and disadvantages of using salt in your pond. Salt is effective at controlling algae because simply plants do not like salt. Okay, so if we use a concentration of 1 pound, so a little over, between 1 and 1.5 pounds per 100 gallons, or that's equivalent to 10 pounds per 1,000 gallons, 10 to 15 pounds, right? Pound and a half per 100 would be 10 to 15 pounds per 1,000 gallons. That's an effective dose to help control algae, stringy, hairy algae in your pond. Anything above that can start to affect your other pond plants, your lilies, your irises, your water hyacinths, all that kind of stuff. So we want to keep it above a pound, but no more than 1.5 pounds. I mean, if we can get it around 1 pound per 100 gallons, 10 pounds per 1,000, that is definitely a good place to be at. So that will help control the algae growth. Now, the whole trick, all these methods of controlling the algae work best as a preventative measure rather than a killer once the pond is overrun with this stuff. So the idea is not to let your pond get overrun with that stuff. Let's try to control it before that happens, okay? It's always easier, to do a little bit of maintenance more often than a whole big job all at once, okay, when things get out of hand. Now, there are different types of algicides, all right, chemical algicides that we can use in ponds. I am not a fan of this stuff. I've heard too many horror stories from people that go out and buy this stuff, and there's adverse effects, killing the fish, depleting oxygen levels, overdosing this stuff. There's a lot of bad that can come from chemical algicides. Now, there's a lot of different algicides. There's a lot of different ways in which they work, all right? Not all work the same way. But my idea as far as these chemical algicides go is that they're more of a quick fix. They're not solving the problem that's causing the algae in the first place. So for instance, right, what do we say algae needs to grow? Water, sunlight, and nutrients, all right? Sometimes by putting in these chemical algicides, it will basically kill the algae on contact. Some of them, there's different types. But we're killing that algae on contact or whatever, however we're doing it. Some of them might neutralize certain chemical properties in the water that the algae's feeding on and control it that way. Okay, so there's different things. But basically, my point is we're not always solving the problem of what's causing the algae in the first place. We may use an algicide today, a couple days later, the pond might start to clear up a little bit and look better, and then 2 weeks from now it's all green again. All right, that's because all those things that the algae needs to grow are still there. We're not eliminating that. And it becomes an endless cycle of constantly adding more algicide and more algicide and more algicide. I don't want to do that. I don't like doing that stuff. And another effect of adding algicide to a pond that has a lot of algae in it already, and you're trying to kill this hairy, stringy stuff, is simply the fact that when this hairy, stringy algae is dead and dying and decaying in your pond, it actually will give off more ammonia and more nitrites and more compounds in the water that the algae needs to feed on. So by killing a lot of this algae in the pond, we're actually creating more nutrients in the water for algae to grow even more. So we're kind of defeating this whole purpose. That's why I'm saying it's not solving the problem that's, that we have in the first place of why we have the algae. We're actually could be creating a more beneficial environment for algae to grow by using an algicide. All right? All right, I hope you kind of got that point. Again, and these things are very dangerous, so I'm not a fan of these chemical algicides. Now, one thing that I can recommend that I've had really good results with, that a lot of my clients swear by it, is called barley straw. Now, barley straw is basically available in, I've seen 3 different forms. I've seen an actual little ball, or little bale, so to speak, of the actual straw, like hay, like straw, okay? And it's in like a mesh, bag. It comes in that form. I've seen it in a pelletized form, all right? Again, in a little bag kind of thing. And I've seen it in a liquid form. Now, what tends to happen here is as that barley, the straw, rots and decays, it gives off a toxin. And this toxin is, I want to say poisonous. It's a natural herbicide to your algae. The problem is with that is, one, it can take some time for it to really be rotting and decaying and giving off this toxin. So if you put it in the pond today, it's not going to work today. It may be a week or more before it starts putting out this toxin. The second problem with both the straw itself and the pellets is that they break down, right? And they're going to create more, waste, garbage, muck in your pond, all right? While you're getting a benefit from it, you have a leftover waste, garbage in your pond. Now, the barley straw liquid is an extract, which is actually the toxin, okay, in the liquid form. So this stuff is awesome because you can actually just pour it around your pond and put that toxin in right away. All right. Now, this stuff is not harmful to fish. It is a natural product, and it is a great, form of a natural herbicide that, like I said, a lot of my clients love. Now, on my website, I have a featured products section and a section for pond products, and I do have barley straw there on my website. Now, it is an Amazon affiliate link. You can go on to my website, again, it's pondscapesandmore.com, and buy this barley straw, directly from Amazon. And it's there for you to see, and it's easy to use. And like I said, I've had a lot of clients use this stuff and really swear by it. So that is a great natural, herbicide, algicide that I would recommend. Certainly over any other, synthetic chemical. All right. So that's a cool thing. Now, there are things called ion generators, all right, that honestly I have seen them on several ponds. I have not used them. I don't have a lot of experience with it. However, people that have it seem to have a good result from it. And what it basically is it's a unit that intercepts in a pipe, and it has a like a probe that goes down into the water, and this little forked probe basically generates a low concentration of like a copper ion. Now, copper is definitely an effective herbicide, all right? However, it can be very dangerous if those levels come up high, as it can also seriously affect your fish. There is a very powerful chemical that's used for controlling parasites or bacteria on koi. It's a copper-based medication. So while the copper in low levels in your pond can help, with your algae, it also can be very dangerous if those levels increase too. So with these little ionizer generators, ion generators that produce this copper, it's definitely a good idea to have a copper test kit, so that you can keep an eye on those copper levels in your pond and nothing becomes too dangerous. But I wanted to mention that as well. Now, we can get into a little more natural control, and that is other plants, okay? The more plants you have in your pond, all right, it's going to do two things. One, it's going to provide shade, cover, like plants like water lilies, water hyacinths, water lettuce, maybe parrot's feather. Plants that are on the surface of your pond will provide shade and block that sunlight that plants need for photosynthesis to enter into the water, okay, and allow whatever filamentous algae, stringy algae is in there that wants to get the sunlight for photosynthesis. It's going to block the amount of sunlight in your pond. So that certainly helps. Now, the other thing with plants is they are basically let's picture it as being higher up on the food chain. A stronger plant that is going to absorb more nutrients out of the water and basically starve that algae out. So it's going to outcompete the green water algae and the filamentous algae, the stringy algae, out of nutrients in the pond. So by putting in more and more plants in your pond, you will definitely be able to control the amount of nutrients that are in the water that your green algae is going to feed on. However, now let's look at some flip sides here, all right? If you have large koi become very destructive to water plants. So sometimes a koi pond and water plants don't go together, all right? I know most people want the best of both worlds, so to speak. They want koi and they want plants, okay? And, a lot of my clients kind of have that little mixed thing. Now, sometimes the plants grow well, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the koi rip them apart and create a big mess in the pond. Sometimes they don't. When I have plants in a pond, I usually keep the bog plants up on my shelves, high up in the water, maybe only an inch or so of water over the top of the pots so that my fish can't get in there. I use big gravel on top of the pots to help keep the fish out. But that's a whole nother video. I have videos all about that kind of stuff as well. But just know that sometimes larger koi can definitely affect the growth of your plants. So if you have a water garden with some goldfish, you got nothing to worry about. You can stuff your plants as much as you want, and it's great. That's a beautiful thing. But in a koi pond, sometimes having a lot of plants not only isn't going to work out so well, but also a lot of my koi people, they don't want plants. Their ponds are all about the fish. So in this case, we can't add plants to that pond to help control, the nutrient levels in the water. So we need to find other ways to do it. Now, one thing too, while we're on this whole subject, I want to explain to you how biological filtration that occurs in your pond, the bacteria that we're growing in the pond, does this whole chemical process where it turns toxic ammonia into a toxic nitrites, and then the nitrites into a far less toxic nitrates, which is the end product of biological filtration. And those nitrates are a great form of fertilizer for your plants. So in our process of filtering our water and creating a biological filter to eliminate those ammonia and nitrite levels, we're producing a plant fertilizer basically on the end. Now, if we don't have plants in our pond to absorb those nitrates, our nitrate levels eventually in a pond can increase and increase. The higher those nitrate levels become, the more likely we are to have algae. So in a koi pond, what we want to try to do to control those nitrate levels is, one, test your water. If you have a pond, I got to preach this all the time, if you have a pond, you should own a test kit. All right? Ammonia and nitrates are definitely something you should be testing for, and pH. But again, that's another video. But a good way to control our level of nitrates in the pond if we don't have plants is by doing water changes. All right, partial water changes. Whatever your routine is, whether it's once a week, whether it's once a month, okay, depending on your nitrate levels when you're testing your water, you can see when things start getting higher or not. Or if you just want to do regular maintenance, every other week you do 10, 15, 20% water change on your pond. That's great, and that's going to help dilute the water and keep those nitrate levels down a little bit more. So definitely, a good idea is a regular maintenance schedule on your pond to do a water change once in a while, right? Test your water and do those water changes. Now, also, we're talking about koi and stuff. Large koi, over like a foot, right? 12 inches or bigger, do a great job of eating the algae that's growing on your pond liner and stuff, all right? Definitely. They do a tremendous job of keeping your pond clean. Smaller fish, not so much, because there's only so much they're going to eat, right? But larger fish, you have a number of larger fish in your pond. Most of my koi pond clients that have big fish, their ponds are spotless, all right? Might get a lot of algae on the waterfalls, but the ponds are spotless. And keep in mind, that your fish are excreting waste. And that waste is also, producing a fertilizer, right, for your plants. But again, hopefully your whole biologics, all that bacteria in the pond, is going to keep that all balanced. Now, I have a great video. I think it's a great video. I'm pretty proud of it, actually, to be honest with you, that I just put out recently about the bacteria, microbes, and enzymes and stuff in your pond and the functions they play. It's a long video, but it's broken down into 4 parts. I really suggest you check that out and understand that whole microbial, biological, bacteria balance that goes on in your pond. Certainly can help. Okay, so finally, another way that I would like to talk about helping to eliminate some of this filamentous, hairy, stringy algae from growing on your waterfalls, because that's the most common problem, is simply, I tell my clients on a hot summer day, in that hot sun, turn your waterfalls off for an hour or so, and just let that hot sun bake on those rocks and dry up whatever algae may be growing. Again, it's more effective if we do this regularly and not when it's covered in green slime, okay? But to shut your waterfalls off and let that sun just bake on those rocks and dry up any algae cells there once in a while is a very easy thing to do, and it works really well. Word of caution I want you to really understand is that in the hot summer, okay, oxygen levels in your pond are extremely important. So if you have a lot of big fish, we don't want to turn those waterfalls off if that's your primary source of oxygen in your pond for a long period of time, because you'll end up killing your fish. All right. If you have an air pump, an air system running in the pond, that's awesome. Okay. But if not, just please be aware that by shutting off your pumps, on the waterfall or whatever, and cutting off your oxygen source in the hot summer sun on a hot day with the pond water really warm and a lot of big fish, can cause a lot of problems. Okay, your fish can die from a lack of oxygen pretty quickly in the summer. So it's just something that we want to do, once in a while. Make sure we have other aeration in the pond, and if we can shut those waterfalls off, that sun will bake and control a lot of that algae. Waterfalls, stream beds, anything like that as well. Okay, yeah, that's I think I've pretty much covered a lot of stuff that I wanted to here. Definitely, and of course, physically removing this stuff is always a great idea, right? Go up to your waterfalls. If you've got that hairy, stringy stuff growing, physically remove it, pull it off, pull as much off, clean it up as much as you can. I'd much rather see you do that than put a chemical powder algicide on it, all right? Because that's all going to end up in your pond when you turn your waterfalls back on or whatever. Physically remove it. It's easy to do. If you have a lot growing in the pond, you can get down there and just start pulling it. And I mean, I've like pulled piece from the side of the pond, and it's just like a whole like chain of this stuff just comes over, right? Maybe like a soft metal rake like used for leaves, you can put in the pond if there's a lot of stuff and just kind of swirl it around in your pond and scoop out what you can. Remove as much of this stuff as you can physically first before you try to treat it, okay, and kill it in the pond. Because like I said, the more algae that's rotting and decaying in your pond, the more nutrients it's going to produce. So if we can eliminate as much of that physically first, and then use our means of killing, whether with salt or whatever, to eliminate the rest of that algae and control it, then that's the best thing to do. All right. Okay, I think we've covered a lot of stuff here. I hope it helped you out. I answered some questions, and definitely think about controlling it before it gets out of hand. And thank you for watching today. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're into this stuff. I really do appreciate your support. I'm trying to give you guys as much information and help you out as much as I can. One of my viewers in the past said actually that my channel is actually like an online video class all about ponds. So he's right. It's kind of exactly what I'm doing. All right. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully we'll see you back soon in another video. So take care and have a great day. Bye.